We mentioned to Mitch McCarthy, he's just been at the White House with President Trump, that Michael Voss has resigned. Sam McClure, award-winning AFL journalist and broadcaster. Sam, when did he resign? Do we know?
Morning, boys. Yeah, according to Pete Ryan in The Age, he actually made the decision before the game against Brisbane on Friday night, which is pretty wild. I can't remember in my time a coach deciding before a game and then it not coming out publicly, and particularly so early in the season. I mean, this is a very, very messy set of circumstances for the Carlton Footy Club, who essentially had the option to sack him at the end of last year. Instead, ratified his position to the board, limped into the year, gave a bizarre statement saying that they were sort of backing him into 2026, but not for the duration of, and that's exactly how it's played out. Feels like a very wasted year for the Carlton Footy Club.
And Sam, is there any news yet on who is going to take over?
It'll be Josh Fraser, who spent a lot of time here, Russ, in previous years. Between here and Collingwood, really, since he retired as a Collingwood ruckman. Very highly rated assistant coach. He'll take over for the rest of the year. And I guess, the one positive for the Carlton Footy Club is that it gives them time now. I do wonder whether they felt a little bit of pressure from Tassie, given that there's all this talk now about Buckley and Hinkley going head-to-head. They probably want to give themselves the best opportunity to get the right candidate.
I assume that he negotiated the payment associated with his resignation.
That's an interesting point. I mean, he was only contracted until the end of this year. So he would have got a payout anyway, I think. Yeah. Ross, they had the new 6-month rule that came in a few years ago that coaches get that payout. So, I didn't
know that. So you'll be right.
No, well, now that you're saying that, I'm trying to work it out in my head. It's a reasonable question. I mean, my guess would be Michael Voss would be paid out for the duration of his contract. It's not going to affect their soft cap.
And Sam, is there going to be a press conference today with, say, the president and the CEO of the footy club?
Well, there'll have to be. I've just got to the footy club. I'm literally walking in the doors now. There's cameras everywhere. Players and staff have got a meeting at 10 a.m. I'm told for the decision to be explained. But look, to all you listeners, I mean, this story for me is much bigger than Michael Voss. He hasn't had a great run, and yes, after 4.5 years, he probably hasn't done well enough with the team that he had. But I just think that this set of circumstances is a result as an inexperienced chief executive in Graham Wright, who was an unbelievable list manager at Hawthorn and a very good football manager at Collingwood, and a board that doesn't have a lot of strength and leadership on it. Graham Wright, in fact, has just walked past me and gone into the club with his laptop bag. He's in a dark suit, so he's ready to go.
Sam, you go and follow him. Sam McClure, award-winning AFL journalist and broadcaster.
Probably inevitable, but Michael Voss, as you heard before with Ross and Russell, has resigned as Carlton coach, or was he pushed? My mail is that he was told his contract wouldn't be renewed at the end of the season, and he thought, well, you know what? We're going to have quite a few more losses. Do I need to really stand up at press conferences after games and explain how our first half was good and our second half was bad, or vice versa? I do feel sorry for Michael Voss. He was a wonderful player. He really was one of the best ever. But I feel like his style of game, the sort of crash and bash style of which he was a master exponent, just doesn't work so well these days. And he has struggled to keep up with the way that the modern game is played. Anyway, whoever coaches Carlton next, my money would be on John Longmire, someone I still think has the fire in the belly and would like another crack at senior coach. And remember, Sydney made a lot of grand finals with him. They only won one back in 2012, but they made, I think, 3 or 4 more. And I think John Longmire would like another crack. And he would have my vote. Or they'll go with someone unknown, Brendan Bolton style. We will see. But anyway, I do feel sorry for Michael Voss, but being the coach of an AFL team, particularly a team like Carlton, is, well, let's just say it is a tough job. It is a job with a huge weight of expectations. And when those expectations are not met, well, the axe usually falls. All right, the Ox joins us now. David Schwarz, good morning.
Morning, Tom. It's a lot of coaches in a short period of time, isn't it, at Carlton?
Yeah, so it was Brett Ratton, who I thought did a pretty good job. Then it was Mick Malthouse. Then it was Brendan Bolton. Then it was the assistant coach, David Teague. And then it was Michael Voss. And now it's, well, who is it next, Ox?
Well, whatever they do, they've got to get somebody from a good system. So, one of the better clubs, whether it's Sydney or Hawthorn or Geelong, or Brisbane, they would be the clubs that you'd be looking at. And I think you want to go with somebody that hasn't had a go at it before, so a first-time coach. Look at the coaches that have interviewed for other jobs, maybe, the runner-up at the Melbourne job, for example. I think that was James Kelly. So somebody of that ilk that has got great experience, good IP, and somebody that comes in with fresh eyes and new ideas. But he's got to be given a runway. And, I think Michael Voss, for the person that he is and the coach that he is, he just couldn't get the best out of that playing list. So you need somebody that's going to be pretty innovative, someone that's got good self-belief, and you need thick skin because it is a big job coaching a Carlton. No matter what you say, the pressure comes at Carlton.
Yeah, you've got a giant target on your back. Just something you said at the start, though. So you're saying don't go with a John Longmire or a Ken Hinkley. Go with a lesser-known assistant coach who's a bit younger, but doesn't that make it harder to pick who it's going to be?
Yeah, it is, but you've got to be brave, and have a look at some of those coaches that have been given the opportunity, whether it's Paul Roos or Craig McRae or we're watching Stephen King at the moment. So the good coaches have got to get their start somewhere. So go through the process, and this is the important part, that the process can't be manipulated. It's got to be thorough, and you can't cut corners. And Carlton probably, out of every club in the land, have cut corners far too often. So I think this has to be thorough.
Does the board or any members of the board who appointed Voss and before that David Teague and whatever who are still there, should they bear some blame here? Should any board members fall on their swords and walk away?
I think most of them are gone. So there's only a couple left that were there. I think Townsend might be one. Priestley's probably another one. But I think overall, most of them are probably new and haven't appointed a coach before. So, but they don't appoint the coach. What happens is they put the selection committee together. They then go to the board for approval. So the board will do a bit of due diligence, but it'll be done by the selection committee, Graham Wright and his team. So the hammer falls on them if they get it wrong.
What about Ange Postecoglou, who is a Carlton supporter but is best known for coaching soccer? Would that work?
No. I think what Ange would be great at is coming in and just having a chat to them occasionally and showing his head when he gets the opportunity. But no, I don't think you can. It's not Ted Lasso, is it?
No.
You've got to have the IP, and you've got to have that intellect to be able to carry out a game plan.
What about you, Ox? You could show them videos from the early 90s. Here's how it's done. Here's how you take a mark. Here's how to kick a long goal, and just do it my way.
No, managing my own affairs is a problem. Managing 42 others and plus a pretty big staff would be out of my wheelhouse. So, no, you've got to be in the system a fair while. I wouldn't have a player that, say Scott Penderbury hung up the boots. I wouldn't be getting Scott. I'd be getting someone who's been in with a Clarko or a Chris Fagan or, one of the better coaches. So you know what what to do and when to do it and, what players you're attracting. But then, the coach is one part, but you've got to get your selection committee right. You've got to get your recruiting right. You've got to get your fitness right. So I think Carlton have got more than just the Michael Voss issue. They've got to get a lot of their pillars right within the club itself.
Yeah, spot on. Thanks for your time, Ox. Let's go to some calls. Dean, hello.
Morning, Tom. Love the show.
Thank you.
I just wanted to comment. I think you nailed it when you said about Michael Voss, the way he coaches. It's a bit of a bash and crash. In fact, it was the way that Brisbane played, nearly 20 years ago, and it worked for them because of the side that they had. But in terms of strategy, once he's found out he's a one-trick pony, and there's not multidisciplinary ways in which he can change the game, mix it up, and that's his downfall. He's kind of lost, and I think he should have gone at the end of last year. I agree, and I'd like to see John Longmire get the gig.
Well, I think Longmire will bring good culture to Carlton. He certainly did that at the Sydney Swans, and I think he's a more how would I put it, variable coaching, that he can try out different game plans. But you are right, it was 25 years ago that Brisbane won the triple premiership, 2001, 2 and 3, and they made a grand final in 2004, but they lost that to Port Adelaide. But Voss, I mean, if you look at his highlights reel, it was crash and bash football, and it worked then. And one of the reasons I believe Charlie Curnow left Carlton at the end of last year was he got sick of the ball just being bombed long into the forward line and he having to compete with often 2 or 3 opponents trying to haul down a big mark. And there are better ways to play the game. Skills are far better than they used to be. Precision kicking to players who are by themselves. That is the way you win modern games of football. Anyway, Vale Michael Voss, I mean, he's not dead, but and I doubt he will be a senior coach again now. He's had 2 cracks at it and it just hasn't worked.